Welcome to the No Guts, No Galaxy podcast number 195. I'm your host, Phil. Today is Wednesday, March 4th, 2020. Like I said, welcome to all of our listeners, viewers across the world, wherever you are. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you'll enjoy this podcast. So we've got a lot to talk about, but the first and foremost is I'm back, and I'm actually back fully on No Guts, No Galaxy and NGNG TV over on Twitch and all the things. And I think that's probably the best thing to go ahead and jump in and talk about is, NGNG and the relationship that Darren and I have had over the years. I mean, it's crazy. It's not ending, but it's definitely transitioning. And one of the things that we're doing is, we're branching out here. And one of the things he's doing is he's stepping away. That's right. For those that didn't know, again, Darren, aka Mama Bear, aka Bombadil, is he's taken a step away from the gaming industry, or at least in this case, streaming, podcast, stuff like that. At least in this regard, and I feel like it's only appropriate for me to talk about what he would probably want public, and he can talk to you guys directly, maybe on a future episode where we have him on. And I think that would actually be a good thing. So we wish him all the luck in the world. I've learned so much. I can't even, like normally we have a list. I have a doc over here on one screen, and, we go down talking points and stuff like that. But I mean, literally there's too much to list. But this isn't it for him. Obviously, he's got a lot going on. He was just moving. Our contract, obviously, with PGI ending a little over a month and a half ago. And that's actually where it sort of spurred all this. And I guess we can go ahead and talk a little bit about that. But in general, this is great. This is sort of what I wanted as far as like NGNG to branch out. And we'll get in all these topping points, but to stick to where and what's going on with Darren is he's stepping away. So what does that mean for NGNG? Well, as far as NGNG, the YouTube channel, the Facebook, the Twitter, the Twitch, basically all encompassing Patreon, I mean everything. It's now been transferred over to me. And so if you are a follower of this channel, or if you subscribe over on Patreon or become a patron and subscribe on Twitch and all that is now supporting me entirely. So what does that mean for you and for me? Well, as far as content creation, I'm going full tilt. I've been streaming every single day. We just streamed actually last night until about 6 a.m. And we'll get into what I've been playing. But it's crazy because I've always felt like NGNG could grow exponentially, and actually we both did, Darren and I. We always felt that, but we sort of made our bed, and we made the channels exclusively MechWarrior BattleTech, and I felt like that was good at the time, but as far as right now, I feel like there's so much to discover, and NGNG and No Guts, No Galaxy isn't necessarily just MechWarrior BattleTech, but of course, that's where my heart lies too, so that's not going anywhere, so don't worry. But yeah, it's crazy. So what about podcasts? What about content? What are we going to be doing here? And is there going to be anything different? Is there going to be anything new? Are you changing things up? Well, there's a lot to answer there and a lot of questions. And I think I'll be frank, I don't have the answers necessarily to everything. Usually what I do is, at least from my point of view, for instance, is podcast. I know I wanted to do the podcast. I know that I want to continue doing the podcast, but what type of podcast? What are we going to cover? Is it just going to be me? Are we going to have a guest? Am I going to have a host of guests? I'm a big fan of like Drop Frames and other podcasts, Joe Rogan and stuff like that. So there are definitely things that, I would love to play around with. And I feel like that's the best thing. So I guess that's what I'm promising you out there is we will be continuing the podcast, but the format may change. I want to try stuff new. And of course, I want you guys to enjoy it as well. So let me know down in the comments below on YouTube and or wherever you're listening to this, what kind of future content on podcast would you like to see? Just me breaking down, news of the week or news of the month, and what have I been playing? What are my thoughts? Stuff like that. Is there any new releases that you should check out and so forth and so on? But with anything, how I like to do it is if you have an idea, go and do that. You don't have to have all the answers. It's not going to be as polished as maybe what the end product will be. But if anything, you're taking that step or two forward. And that's generally how I feel about this new start. And that's really what this is for NGNG. It's a new start. And it's crazy because we've been doing, the same thing, for 8 years, and change is sometimes scary, but also to me, it's an adventure. So here's to a new adventure, guys. I'd like to say again, thank you to the amazing years hanging out with Darren every single day, gaming with him, getting to know him on a personal level. The amount I've learned, I've grown as a man because of him. I learned a lot of valuable lessons as far as business and on a personal level. And it's been an adventure. It's been crazy awesome. And, I feel like, it's going to be weird without him. That being said, maybe he comes back. Who knows? Maybe he comes back on an individual basis. Maybe we make this like a monthly thing where, Mama Bear checks in with us. And again, I don't want to tell you guys what he's doing. I feel like he should do that. Maybe on the podcast as well. So I will get back to you on that. But if anything, we wish you well, Darren. I know you're going to do great. Everything's going to be fine, and you're going to rock on, man. So thank you again for all that you've done for me and my family. And just want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart, man. Love you. Try not to get all emotional here, but yeah, man. Very, very cool. It's been a crazy cool ride, and I was so fortunate enough to find you on that open landscape of a planet desert into your lowly mech, and I'm glad that I recruited you and got you off the battlefield, and you were no longer an individual wolf. You were part of my wolf pack. So thank you again, dude. Oh man, geesh, I'm not crying, you're crying. But yeah, so just want to say thank you again to everyone out there. Make sure to head over to his Twitter, give him a follow, send some love. The outpouring when he gave his message on Twitter was amazing. I think it even caught him by surprise how many people and lives he's impacted, including my own. So Darren, we wish you well, sir, and I'm sure we will see you soon on the podcast. So until next time, sir. All right, so what does that mean for NGNG and content? Well, a few things. For you guys that have been around for a while, I made a mistake, and I'm definitely one of those individuals where I'm okay with admitting that. I used to create daily videos, and this was years ago, like 3-4 years ago. And what I would do is I would record footage of MWO. I would then take it into, at the time, Sony Vegas, and I would render it, and then I would upload it. But if you guys know anything about content creation, one, it was just me just recording a game. It didn't necessarily mean it was going to be a great game, but more often than not it was. And that's how I sort of started the YouTube channel, was me playing MWO and recording, and then the podcast, and this eventuality of us moving to a video. And so that's where it started. And I made a mistake because years ago, I decided to stop that because, and this was my reasoning, I decided to stop that because I could stream more because the amount of hours. And for those that don't know, when you play, you obviously have to record. Well, what happens if you don't get a good match, or maybe you're showcasing a build and you can't really showcase it to your level? So let's just say a Timberwolf video may take 3-4 attempts, maybe 5 attempts or whatever. So then, average match time, maybe 5 to 7 minutes or something like that. Anyways, you can do math. And then you would take that into the editor. Do you need to edit anything where you splicing videos together and then you render? Well, back then too, they didn't have the technology we have now with the GPU encoders and renders and all that fun stuff, which makes it go like that, and or some of the new CPUs that are ridiculous. Looking at you, AMD. So it was a time-saving thing for me, because also too at the time, YouTube and its compression, what it would do to the videos from that you'd upload at a nice high bit rate, right? And then YouTube's compression would just be like, no. And then it would look like shit. At least I thought it looked like crap. So I switched over to doing highlights from Twitch. And that allowed me a little bit of freedom, right? It allowed me to highlight specific matches. Mostly it was really good matches, but there were some that were like, you failed. And then I could literally just create those and export them to YouTube and plug in the information, stuff like that, and go live, right? Create a thumbnail and so forth and so on, go live. And so for me, it made sense and it worked. But that fell off over the years, and especially in the past 2 years, I would say 2.5. Maybe you guys have noticed that, whereas content has sort of dropped off from NGNG and the YouTube channel. And that was just, if we're honest, that was just burnout and just, with it was nothing new and stuff like that. And I feel like that's where I made a mistake, where I should have continued pushing content on YouTube. You guys deserve more, and obviously those who support us, you want more. I'm sure some of you guys are like, yeah, we totally get it, Phil. I mean, you guys have been playing the same thing. What's new, blah, blah, blah. But regardless, I felt like it was a mistake. So to change that and to rectify it, what I'm doing now, and I just started with our recent BattleTech Advanced 3062 playthrough career. It's a mod, by the way. You should check that out. It's amazing. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But it's basically to create specific content for BattleTech and also Mech 5. And I will be starting the Mech 5 series, though I am waiting for next week to kick off, because I think we're expecting a patch to drop for the editor, which will unlock a lot of modding potential. And again, we'll talk that. So that's what I'm promising you guys. Now, outside of just MechWarrior and BattleTech, I'll also be doing the same for other games. It's gonna be crazy. And we'll talk about some other games that I've been playing recently and future games as well. And so that's the content. I'm going to be doing podcasts. I stream every single day. And of course, sometimes multiple times a day. We're going to be creating a new series for videos as well for different games. And I want to revitalize. I want to not even rebrand. I don't want to rebrand NGNG. I think NGNG is amazing as is. You guys, the community, what we're used to as far as like we're MechWarrior BattleTech themed, and we're going to branch out. That's cool, but we're not going to change at heart, because at heart, I'm a BattleTech MechWarrior fan. So I'm not going anywhere. Are you? So I definitely want to talk about my goals. My goals as an individual are to create content that you guys enjoy and that you guys can come to on a reliable schedule to the Twitch channel, to YouTube. There's maybe a daily video coming out. I don't want to oversaturate, right? But maybe 1-2 videos a day. I think that's a good call, and then build up a schedule and stuff like that. So those my goals are to, at least for the short term, get the YouTube channel, get that moving again. And I feel like that's a good goal. I'm not shooting crazily high. What I want to do is shoot for getting content on YouTube specifically. So that's a goal. Another goal is, again, streaming and finding joy in streaming again. Now, I feel like I need to back up here. You may be asking yourself, well, Phil, have you not been enjoying stream? Have you anything like that? I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story here. I've actually loved streaming every single day for MWO. I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed up until about 1.5 years ago. Last year in 2019, I don't remember the specific day or time or when, but I remember it happening. And that happening was, I remember, I think it was around, the afternoon time, and normally I'm live and I'm playing, but not that day. And I remember sending Darren a message and saying, I just don't feel like streaming MWO today. And that was the very first time that had occurred to me. In 7 years, I think it was like 7.5 years, I had never ran into that. And then that day happened. And that happened a few times last year. And I think that's typical normal, but also too is just the burnout of the emotional burnout too, of, being a community manager as we were and embedded and having to deal with, knowing stuff behind the scenes, and then also being a player and knowing that, as far as MWO was concerned, there was nothing coming out, and just having to internalize all that frustration, but also like seeing the other frustration from the community members and not being able to couldn't do anything about it. It wasn't like talk about it. I talked about it all the time, either on the Twitch channel and or behind the scenes. I tried to, but just couldn't do anything about it. And so with this, I mentioned finding the love for streaming again. And I feel like that's also finding the love for gaming again, because I've missed out on so many things. Someone asked recently on our Discord channel, which by the way, you should join. Make sure to read the Welcome Read First channel that you begin in so you can get your roles. It's up to you. If you can't talk, it's on you. So again, link to Discord down below. Someone asked me recently, what was my favorite games? And I'm not ashamed about this. My favorite games were MechWarrior and MechCommander. Like, that was a thing. That's all I pretty much played in high school. But, you know, going off in the Marines and then getting out and hopping, basically, I think I went from like COD and a few like Modern Warfare 2 and some like those type of, you know, Supreme Commander, right basically into EVE. And then I was gone for 5 years in EVE, and then Living Legends, and then MWO. I haven't played so many games. And I mean, it's so surprising because people are like, oh, well, have you played this? I'm like, nope, you know, this, nope. And I've missed out so much. So what have I been doing to rectify that? And I've been playing other games, and I've been streaming other games. And I understand that it may not be the most popular game to stream, but damn it, I'm going to play it. And I need to play it. I need to experience these other things. We've been playing other games recently on stream. And it's sort of a shocker too, because not only were people coming in and like, oh, Phil's back, what's going on? But then also you're playing a different game. I'm confused. And so anyways, I wanted to do this podcast to sort of tell you that I need to do what's healthy for me. And that healthy is variety. That healthy is having experiences outside the mech cockpit. You know, like I need to play a turn-based strategy outside Battletech. I need to experience you know, MMOs or, you know, RPGs. I need to experience stories or retro games. I need to play and have variety in my life. And yeah, I did that a little bit, but really I didn't. And so that's a goal of mine. And so we have two goals: to get YouTube content, be consistent on Twitch, and then also just find the love for gaming. And I'll tell you what, man, ever since our contract was not renewed, I have not had I've been so happy. And I know that may sound counterintuitive, because it's like, well, there goes a, you know, monthly paycheck. But I can't put a price on like how I feel every single day. And I feel like that's really important. So this is what I'm doing. And, you know, it's funny because someone was like, well, you know, would you go back to it if you could? And I said, no, I wouldn't. I never wanted the being tied down. So anyways, here's to going forward and hitting these two goals. And this is what I need from you guys. Keep me on my toes. Keep me pushing forward. Get in that discussion on Discord. Let me know games that you think I should play. Yeah. So I'm gonna hold you to that. You hold me to mine, and we're gonna make this work. So, again, what will I be playing? Everything. I want to try everything. Maybe not some of that anime. I just can't. I'm sorry. I just can't. That's not me. I don't know. Maybe I could. I don't know, but probably not me. But no, I'm playing everything. From shooters to RTSs to turn-based to sci-fi to fantasy to. I want to experience the gambit, and so far I've been really enjoying it. We've done Halo Reach, which I never played, and so now I know. We did Halo last night, Combat Evolved, and stuff like that. I want to play everything, and but don't worry, Battletech and MechWarrior aren't going anywhere, and we'll get into that. When do I stream? I've been streaming in the afternoons and then evenings. Today I actually took the day off, and I'm focusing on content. For instance, this podcast, as well as another BTA Battletech playthrough, and I'm going to be recording more today. And that's because we were up super early to like 6 a.m. playing some Halo, and I'm okay with that. Last night I was like, well, how far off am I? And they're like, oh, well, you're not too far. So I was like, all right, fuck it, let's keep going. 6 o'clock in the morning later, I'm wrapping up, right? So anyways, it was awesome, and we'll talk about that in a second. So again, why am I branching out? I feel like there's a glass ceiling when it comes to Battletech and MechWarrior. And that's when it comes to streaming and YouTube content. I think the ceiling's a lot higher on YouTube, and we're not quite there. But that being said, I think introducing other people to BattleTech and MechWarrior, as far as it having a multi gaming channel, is the right approach. And so that's what I want to do, and that's the direction I'm taking the channel. And I feel like, if anything, all right, sorry, I got totally sidetracked. What came in with the dogs, and I'm like, I'm recording. So I feel like the being able to play other genres, play other games, build this YouTube channel up, build this podcast up, build the Twitch channel up. If anything, I feel like it's going to grow a lot more with having other games, and at heart, bringing those people into MechWarrior BattleTech. And maybe that's the way. I think a multi-gaming channel is appropriate. And, you know, again, I know where my roots are. I'm not going anywhere. And, you know, we'll just keep trucking along on that road. And as updates and stuff come for Mech 5 and future projects and stuff like that, we'll continue to play them. All right, so that's what's going on with NGNG. And so let me go ahead and talk about like what I've been playing recently. We've done some Halo Reach, as I mentioned. We have done World of Tanks. We've done Corruption 2029. I just did an entire playthrough of that. I did Halo Combat Evolved last night. We streamed it for 8 hours. We've played Retropolis. We've played a wide range of games, and I've been really enjoying it. And it's so interesting because, and this is how much of a BattleTech nerd I am, every single time I play games like this, I'm always like, oh, that could work in MechWarrior. Oh, that could work in BattleTech. Oh, that would be cool in MechCommander, stuff like that. I'm such a nerd when it comes to that. But it is what it is. You know, I can't change. It is, I am who I am, all right? So I've been playing BattleTech a lot, and actually what brought me back to it was a mod. And if you haven't seen, if you haven't played, make sure to go watch the series that I'm posting online on the YouTube channel and catch it live again on our Twitch, because BattleTech Advanced 3062 has brought the love for me back to the game. I got bored of the vanilla experience, and I didn't really like all the aspects of Rogue Tech. It was too much kitchen sink. It was so much stuff, and I don't think the design really worked all that well, in my opinion. It was still great, but it wasn't what I wanted to play. So BattleTech Advanced 3062, if you haven't played it and you've only played the vanilla and you've moved on, play that mod. It's going to change. You're going to be addicted. He is pretty much done with the core gameplay, and he's working on, yes, this guy's working on a clan expansion that's optional that will also include a larger map, the Inner Sphere map, right? Because that involves invasion. So right now you're stuck in the vanilla navigation, the star chart. So you're actually sort of missing out, which is sort of I would say that was probably a negative for me. Like, for instance, I wanted to get all the major houses except like Liao and Krita. I didn't care about the my reputation with them. But like Steiner and stuff like that, you have to do these weird offshoot small missions, but you have to be careful where you do them at, because if you're doing them like on Free Worlds League, then you're going to get negative reputation with Free Worlds League, and that may not be what you... Anyways, but the clan invasion, or clan expansion that he's doing, and this isn't official, by the way, this is for the mod. Yes, Rogue Tech already has that stuff, but he's working on this. So that he said tentatively April on that as well. So if you haven't checked that out, highly recommend you do. You're probably going to fall back in love. And there was a few things that I really liked. One, the evasion system. For those that don't know, in vanilla BattleTech, when you move, let's just say you move 6 and you have 6 invasion pips on a light mech. The problem is, and this is what we did as content and streamers, was I could fire at your mech. It would take off 2 evasion pips. And so I'd fire 1 or 2 times just to get it low enough to where I could hit you. Well, then there's no point in having a light mech. They just get erased. And also to combat ranges, SRMs and AC-20s or PPCs and AC-10, stability, LRMs, knockdown, all that fun stuff. He's changed so much. Evasion, height matters, movement matters. It's great. I like it. I've been enjoying it. I would definitely recommend go play it if you haven't done so already. All right, so let's talk about some news. I found this out while we were streaming last week, and that is Piranha Games has got a 5-year extension on the MechWarrior IP. Now, this is their third extension. Keep in mind, this comes at a really interesting time. I mean, obviously for me and Darren, it's an interesting time because our contract was not renewed. Also, there was other staff that were let go, like Tina. Tina's no longer with PGI. I don't know if there was other people, other staff members, I would presume potentially. So this was actually sort of interesting because I was under the impression that there was probably two things going on. One, PGI did not know if it got the extension and so was taking the measures that they presumed potentially they just didn't know. So if their contract was ending at the end of this year, they would take steps to potentially, if you will, cut the fat per se. And by the way, that's typically normal. Also, as far as like staff and stuff like that, when you build up to a project like MechWarrior 5, you sometimes let go of support staff that you don't need necessarily afterwards. That's common practices, by the way, especially with contractors. Or two, PGI did know that they weren't getting or were getting the license and were just making steps as is. And so it just came to me. I like to think that Russ did not know until recently that they were getting the extension. That's what I'm going to assume, is that they didn't know. I mean, he talked about that in the not so distant past on the dev update and stuff like that. And that was the last time we had heard about it, but we hadn't heard anything. And this came on Twitch chat, by the way. This was Twitch chat. I'm in the middle of playing a game. I was actually playing Battletech Advanced 3062, and he pops into chat. And so people were asking, and he said, I asked, well, MWO, people want to know why I'm not going to invest any more time in MWO on a personal level. One, I don't think that's healthy for me because I do get frustrated. People just want to know what's going on. And his response was, we don't know basically either. I totally understand if that makes sense. He said, it makes sense that you feel that way. And then he said, oh, well, we got the extension and it's 5 years. So he said, but I don't have any answers as far as MWO as of right now. So he said, but we're not turning off the servers. So it's such an interesting thing because from my perspective this means a few things for PGI. And that could be MWO isn't going to get any more work to it. They're going to focus on Mech 5. And that's sort of what I'm thinking they're going to do. I think they're going to focus 100% on Mech 5. I think what they're opening up the mod scene, and from my understanding, him in chat is basically that's what they're going for. And that also means, by the way, and we already have people like Conrad, shout out, dude. They've already got like a server type setup for Mech 5 as far as like created their own custom server. It's just like there's no host state rewind and stuff like that. But this is how I look at it. Would we rather have a PGI focus on two different things? Or maybe that's what they are doing. I don't know, not to get too squirrel. Or just give all the tools available to the community so they can build what they want and concentrate on a expansion, a DLC of clans and stuff like that down the road. And so we know we're getting DLC in April. We don't know the details, but I would go ahead and assume it's going to be more tech as far as advancement. And that's probably about it. I would assume, because he mentioned like in the dev update, developer update, ECM, I don't want you guys working on stuff, and then we're just going to bring in new official stuff, blah, blah, blah. But even then, I don't think that's going to stop modders, because just like Battletech, where they brought in ECM, it's completely changed in Advanced 3062 and Rogue Tech. So maybe, just maybe, that's what's going to happen in Mech 5. But the one thing that is nice is them unlocking and giving access for modders to be able to access certain things that they're not able to right now. So, okay, well, that's one scenario. Maybe they focus on Mech 5 for 2.5 years, 3 years from here on out. And behind the scenes, they have their core engineer group working on another multiplayer experience. I mean, that's totally possible. Do I think we're going to get an MWO 2.0 where they basically just upgrade MWO to Unreal? I don't think so. I don't think so. And could they, with the extension, potentially take MWO right now and remodel it as far as like the monetization model? Because for those that don't know, the monetization model, they may make money off of MWO. I'm going to assume they make money. They make enough money to where they're not shutting off the servers and it's paying for that and probably making more, but they're not making any mech sales, new mech sales. But that doesn't mean that they aren't making sales on mechs, because there's people that are continually playing, continually buying stuff. People come in. So even though we're not getting new mechs, they may be still selling mech packs. So keep that in mind. But they could rebrand it. They could, well, they've already done that with Solaris, and we all know how Solaris is. Solaris was just very mediocre. It wasn't, I don't think it was conducive to the current environment of solo and group drops and how difficult. And one, you're taking another queue, you've got different buckets, you've got this weird tier system in there. It was a failure. In my eyes, it was a failure. I wanted to play it after a week. I didn't want to play it again. Like, that's not fun. I mean, so I don't know. Do you say, you know what, hey, we're going to stop faction play, we're going to stop Solaris, focus on solo and group, but they're not updating any of the game modes? Are they going to? There's so many unknowns. And this is why I don't feel like playing MWO right now, because I just get sort of frustrated and fed up with the lack of stuff. So I think it's just better for me mentally not to have to worry about that. So, but what could they do? They could do that. They could basically change it and make it a subscription model where you get all the mechs. I mean, there's so many things they could do, but I don't think it makes sense for PGI to focus on MWO at all. And that may come as a shocker to some and maybe like, no, but here's why. I think it's smarter for them to focus entirely on Mech 5, the mods, future content, hire some story people and create good content, story content. But if you can't do good story content, if you can't hire a writer and someone, not only a good writer, but someone who knows MechWarrior Battletech, if you can't do those things, don't do a story, because the overall story wasn't bad in Mech 5 as far as it was how it was delivered. It was so bad at the very beginning. There were so many things that can improve with that. And that's what HBS did so much better. The story was okay as well. It wasn't overly crazy or anything like that, the overall story. But the delivery, the 2D cinematics, the music, the characters, the voice acting was fantastic. And I wish we had that in Mech 5. And if they don't do it, at least the modding community. Now, that's not a pass, by the way, guys. I'm not giving them a pass. What I'm saying is, at least we have the ability to fix stuff, or at least put it in a shape or way that we as community members would like to see. So, for instance, Rihanna. You know what I'd like to see with Rihanna? A new 3D model where she's not in this weird armor thing, that she's in, like, I don't know, the MechCommander flight suits, right? That would be appropriate. That looks legit. That's what we need. Our mechanic, get him out of that again. There's so many things that it just needs. We need some substance and depth with Mech 5. But the cool thing is, either if they don't do it, at least allow the modders to do it. So I don't know. I think it makes sense for PGI to focus mainly on Mech 5, and then I mentioned this behind the scenes. They take a core group of engineers and they start working on either. Not even Mech 6. I would, if I was them, I would say keep Mech 5 and make it a multiplayer expansion DLC or multiplayer expansion, and it's free to everyone, right? But you have to obviously buy the game. There are people that haven't bought the game because it's PvE. They're not interested. It's co-op. They're not interested. But if it was a online portion like MWO, but new, I don't know, man. I think there's so many possibilities, but we don't know. It'd be interesting to hear from Russ and their plans. As of right now, we don't know what they're doing. Obviously, we know MWO isn't getting anything anytime soon. We know we're getting DLC for Mech 5 in April. He mentioned at the end of the year. What does that mean? I think it's, now that they have a 5-year extension, he mentioned the clans. One, look, guys, you can already import clan mechs from MWO into Mech 5. The only thing that's missing and that requires from the mod scene is you have to create new animations. You can't rip the animations out of MWO and put them in Mech 5. So you'd have to create new animations, which I don't think is a bad thing anyways, because I think animations can be improved upon entirely. So no one's stopping someone from doing a clan pack modding side. The one thing that is stopping us is the Mech Lab, and it's being expanded upon. And that's what we're hoping for in this next update, of getting access to files so we can update the Mech Lab. Because right now the Mech Lab is very subpar and it just doesn't allow customization. And that's where I feel like, similar to the Battletech 3062 mod, where Battletech had the exact same issues. They tried something as really hardcore Battletech, but in reality, it made 95% of the chassis completely irrelevant, and it was very boring. It's the same thing with Mech 5, and I feel like that could be expanded on. But, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this over the years. What could they do if they got the extension, so forth. Also, one thing no one, I guess we talked about in the past is, what if they did a console? I mean, Microsoft is launching the new Xbox. Could this be a secondary title? I don't think it would be a first one, unless Russ has been in the background. They've been working on this for a while or something like that. It could be a new Microsoft title as far as with release, but you'd think there would be some hype, or I don't know. But could Mech 5 be translated into not a Mech Assault, but could you, I think you could take Mech 5, especially with the Xbox controller and a good player, right? And you could bring that to the console. So that's always a possibility. What are Russ's plans? Does he see other stuff? Now, also to talk about this, Harebrained Schemes is stepping out. They're gone. They're moving on. They're not doing any more Battletech content, at least not right now. And that could have been for a multitude of reasons. It could have been because they needed to know a year plus ahead of time so they could develop their schedule and release, schedule for Battletech content. And if PGI didn't know about the extension up until recently, which is what I think, then how could they plan? They can't hedge their bets on that. So they would have had to move on anyways. But now that they're acquired by Paradox, is that one of the reasons why they're moving on from Battletech as well? But also too, they released that tweet again like 2 months ago that was like, oh, if you could see any Battletech Mech Warrior, what would it look like? And it's like, that's an interesting question. Like, do they have plans to come back? And after, they've talked about 2 different games. We don't know the IPs with that as well. So Battletech is stepping out. They just had their latest patch, the 1.9 patch. And then it's just only what modders can do, and then that's it. So it's a sad day, in my opinion. I think they added so much to bring in the resurgence, if you will, of Battletech Mech Warrior back. But it's sort of bummer to see them go, right? I mean, but who knows? Is this like, hey, oh, and by the way, I think Jordan Wiseman has moved on as well. I need to get confirmation on that. So that's just speculative right now, but I don't believe he's with Harebrained Schemes anymore. Right. So what does this mean? Does he still have ties to Microsoft and so on and so forth? Are we going to see other titles? What about old, IPs like Crimson Skies and MechCommander and stuff like that? Speaking of MechCommander, I know a lot of people actually don't know this, but me and a very small team are working on MechCommander for Mech 5. Yes, you will literally be able to play Mech 5 as far as the campaign and more in the MechCommander isometric top-down view and AI and stuff like that, and we're going to add stuff. So that's in the works right now. We're sort of waiting on this next patch as well. But the progress I've seen has been fantastic, and I hope you guys are excited as I am. And with that too is just the idea that, PGI also sent out that update on their EULA agreement that basically said, from a legal standpoint, you are okay with ripping assets from MWO and putting them in Mech 5. Ask yourself, that's good. That's a really good thing for us. That means our asses are legally covered if we were to do that. For instance, let's just say we rip out all the clan stuff and all the rest of the IS mechs and put them in Mech 5 before they do in an official manner, that you're covered. You don't have to worry about that from a legal standpoint. And it's not like you can distribute it for money anyways or make money off your mods. None of that. But it's just cool that that's covered. So yeah, lots to intake there. What are your thoughts on it? What would I want? What do I want as far as a fan? I'm just glad the game and the IP isn't disappearing. Let me make that very clear again. I'm glad the IP isn't disappearing back to the vault that could be Microsoft. If Microsoft wanted to do anything with the IP, they would have done so. They haven't. So take that as you will. I'm not giving a pass here. What I'm saying is I was always concerned with that. As Darren used to say, you know, we live in a great time right now as far as Battletech fans. That may not last forever. Now, the good news is, with Mech 5 being pretty much, hopefully, more modular as far as modability in the near future with the updates, we at least won't be without an update or without content, for years to come. And it'll be interesting. Again, we're creating a MechCommander. So then you're going to have, if you want to play this mod, right, you're going to have Mech 5. Well, that's again sales for PGI. It's a smart move on their part, and I think it was a very calculated piece of that as well from Russ. And so, man, tons of stuff going on as far as the IP. We've got updates from Catalyst as far as the Kickstarter. That's actually another thing. We could actually have a series of tabletop or something like Death from Above. If you have ideas out there, by the way, feel free to let me know. I think we could do something like Death from Above. Obviously not with that big of mechs. I don't have a 3D printer, but I do know someone who does, and potentially if I could get one or something like that, maybe we could print a little bit bigger models and I could set up a table or something. But some type of maybe Alpha Strike rules or some type of fun role-playing thing. I've always wanted to do it, but we just never had the means. And now that potentially we could do that. But yeah, what do you guys think? What would you like to see? Would you want to see an MWO 2.0? Would you like to see more of like a World of Tanks style? Would you like to see more of a MechWarrior 4 online aspect? MSN Zone. What if we had our own servers? That's where I'm leaning towards. I think it'd be awesome if we had our own servers. How about different co-op or PvP game modes? Think of all of your best games right now that you play. Think about this for a second. Take a second. Think of all the games that you play online and or PvE or co-op and the game modes they use. Could we bring some of those to Mech 5? Could we do that? Battle Royale. Could you do that? Some type of like Tarkov experience. Can you do that? What about RTS stuff? What about MOBA? You name whatever genre of game, card game. Obviously, Mech 5 doesn't have cards, but which I still think for us, if you happen to be listening, I think an online card game, at least if it was a side thing, a side game like Gwent in Mech 5. Do it. Oh my God, great idea. Let's make this happen. Whoever it is, we need a side game like Gwent, but in Mech 5, like Battletech, where you can go and you can play against other crew members and so forth. And it doesn't have to be necessarily like the original Battletech card game, but something new. I don't know. I think that sounds good. That would be cool. All right. Lots of changes. On a personal level, I've moved into our new location. We're in a rental. We sold our house. I've got a green screen now. We've all upgraded and all that. It's really cool. It's been a little bit of an adjustment. I've got my, marathon this weekend. Unfortunately, I hopefully it's had a calf injury that happened almost a month ago. So I haven't actually ran at all because I couldn't. I've kept up with cycling and hopefully enough fitness that I can run the full marathon this Saturday, but it's not going to happen at the pace that I want. Me and the wife are still tossing around the ideas of building a house, but things that we have to look at is budget, the property, what type of home, all that fun stuff. Is it within that budget that we're talking about? But yeah, lots of stuff, and I'll continue to update you guys about my personal life and so forth and so on. But yeah, this is a new step and a new direction as far as No Guts, No Galaxy, and I'm excited. It's good to be home. And that's sort of how I felt when that first day. And by the way, this just happened like last Monday. I'd been talking to Darren behind the scenes since our contract had ended, and I'd done my own Twitch channel, and so many people send me PMs and were like, why aren't you on NGNG? Like, what's going on with Darren? Where's he at? Why is he not streaming? And Darren knew that I wanted to take what we had built and especially on the Twitch side, what I had worked every single day on, and expand that, and here we are now. And so it's been pretty fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. The opportunities are amazing. And if anything, like I said, it's just going to be, it's a process, and it's an adventure. So that's sort of where we are right now. But I'd like to say again, thank you to all of you guys for the support. Again, quick shout out to Darren. Thank you again for all that you have done. Not only for me, but my family and so forth. And we wish you luck. So guys, as we now expand on the games that we play, expand on the adventures that we have together, expand on the Twitch moments and the YouTube content and stuff like that, I'm going to continuously try to evolve things and refine things. And I may try stuff and it just doesn't work. But that's just sort of trial and error, right? But yeah, just want to say thank you again. Thank you guys for listening and following along and supporting. We've had, supporters on Twitch for literally almost going on 6 years. We've had subs there for almost 6 years, which is insane. But yeah, really, the podcast is supported by you guys, whether that's just listening and watching, whether that's you become a sub on Twitch and get access to emotes and slow mode and stuff, and we have a Discord channel for you guys, whether it's on Patreon as well. You guys can support us. We do get a better percentage on Patreon. I know a lot of people have asked, so I'm bringing it up because, again, people don't know. Some people do both. Just know that when you guys do that kind of thing, you are supporting me now directly, me and my Hobbit dreams and ambitions, and you're supporting my wife and my dogs and us in our future. So just know that that investment, I'd like to think, is going to a good place. And so I just want to say thank you for considering it. If you guys do any shopping on Amazon, I'll have a link for you guys. It has changed, by the way. But the Patreon is still No Guts, No Galaxy. And of course, the Twitch is still at twitch.tv/NGNGTV. But man, it's crazy to know that this sort of ride, this sort of has came to an end as far as like a month and a half ago with our contract with PGI. And a lot has been going on since, a month and a half ago. But I'm looking forward to getting on the next ride and experiencing these games and growing with you guys. I think it's going to be fantastic. And if anything that I know is that if I am consistent and I'm passionate, that you guys will follow and be supportive. And I just want to say thank you again. So this was your local No Guts, No Galaxy podcast. Signing off for tonight. This is Phil. Until next time. I love coffee. Coffee loves me. Do you love coffee as much as me? Hobbits like coffee.